this is the story I wanted to share with you. When I first moved to LA, I lived in an apartment in North Hollywood, and it was dark. It didn't have like pretty much hardly any natural light. On top of that, like the floors were really dark. And then I knew I needed to move to a bigger place, because at that time I was sharing a room with a girl, and there was another young woman who lived in the other room. So it was a 2-bedroom apartment split between the 3 of us, and I was sharing a room with one of them, and I was a small room too, and I was living that way for 3 years. That's where I was living when I actually received the prophecy over my life to be an apostle. And then I knew it was God's timing. I knew I was going to need my own room to walk in this calling, and God opened up the doors financially just a few months after receiving that prophecy, to move into a new 2-bedroom apartment where I'd have my own room, and then a roommate that would occupy the other room. So God opened up a door, and this apartment, it was much nicer than the other one in the fact that it had so much natural light. All the walls were painted white, and it was located, I guess, on the right side of the building, where whatever side of the building, you know how like there's just nothing blocking it. There was no buildings next to it blocking it. I mean, every single room had amazing sunlight the entire day. And I had looked at a lot of apartments before that, and none of them had daylight like that. So like, man, I was so grateful, and I loved the daylight. I remember like I lived there for 5 years, and I just remember even in the 5th year, just like thinking, oh, I love how bright it is. I love this daylight. And then I moved, when I was looking for places to move, I found how hard it was to find natural daylight. Like it was so rare. And it's like, what? I didn't even realize how blessed I was, like how rare this is. And other people are living like this, and other people are living without this daylight that I have. It really taught me about, like, if you need to look around and see what God has blessed you with, and value it, and know that it's rare, and remember that it's rare, and remember how blessed you are by this. Then there was another time where I lived in an apartment that had a beautiful bedroom. It just the way it was designed, like the architecture, and it also had a lot of natural light. It was just beautiful. And then I started looking for other places, and I realized that no bedroom matched up to this. And also, like, I lived there for years, but there was hardly any storage space. And so I don't know if some of you might be familiar with this, but when you don't have storage space, it's very hard for things to be like perfectly in order because there's just not places to put everything. And so it can be easy for things to be cluttered, or I would find even like if I would get something from the store, like it would stay in a bag for a while before putting it away. Or like also, you know, if I was really busy, like I wouldn't put all the clothes away right away, you know. So you know how it can be like when you just have 20 minutes left in the day, you know, do you spend time with God, or do you put everything perfectly in order, you know? Or you only have 20 minutes left in the day and you haven't rested one bit. Do you rest, or do you put everything perfectly in order? Like many times it's going to be better to spend time with God. It's going to be better to rest, etc. Same can be said for like exercise or whatever, or spending time with your child. So, you know, we shouldn't be so perfectionists that like everything must be perfectly in order at all times, because sometimes we can be missing, since there's a certain number of hours a day, sometimes we can be missing out on what God is asking us to do. But anyways, so I was never someone that was like, I was always someone who was very like more balanced, like things needed to be clean, but I wasn't like obsessive about it being clean. And if things were a little bit cluttered sometimes because I can't get to it yet, like that's okay. It's not like an OCD type thing, like, you know. So I would be like a balance is where I would be. But then when I saw how beautiful this room, or when I realized how rare it was, the beauty of the room, I really, I had this motivation to value this great blessing, because it made me realize like I wasn't valuing it. It's not like I was doing something like really wrong and bad, but I just opened up my eyes. I was not valuing it like how I should, and I could be enjoying this blessing from God. Like God gave this blessing, and I could be enjoying it more, you know. And so I really made the intention. I got rid of any kind of clutter. I put everything away. And then it was so beautiful. And I looked around, and every time I would go in there, I would be like, like it feels heavenly, like peaceful, like, and it really affected my mood. And so it was just like something so simple that was done, so simple, like renewing my mind to see the beauty of the blessing, and then taking action, making it priority to remove anything that was cluttering the beauty of the blessing, anything that was getting in the way of me being able to enjoy the blessing. I would notice with the room, I would like, if there was like a little bit of clutter, I would like train my eyes to not look around the room, you know, because you don't want to see the clutter. And so it was, and then when the clutter was removed, I would be looking around and, it's beautiful. So it was such a learning experience for me, about how we can be like missing the blessings that God has given us, just by not valuing it, just by not valuing them. And it's just a simple action we can do, renewing our mind and taking action to remove things that are clouding the beauty of our blessing, getting in the way, removing that, and then we can just enjoy the blessings. And you can have peace and joy and contentment without any blessing but a relationship with Jesus. And that's what we all should have. We should all aim for that. That's what God wants us to seek and to have. I remember one time when I was in the 4.5-year wilderness process before God made revival to break out, and everything changed. And in those 4.5 years, it was that dry period of like, man, I have these blessings, and I have these dreams, I have these promises from God, and other people my age, they're receiving blessings like marriage and children, like these big promises that I've been hungering for, and even like a house and space. This is when I was living in like just an small apartment. And I was like, but they're not even serving God, and they have these blessings, you know, and I'm serving God and I don't get any of them yet. And it was like, and then I started hungering to have children. I just started hungering for it one day so much. And I would even just like envision myself like holding a baby, and like would just like have tears just thinking about it. Like, man, I just really wish I had it. And I remember having a thought of like having having a baby or having that kind of blessing, like having one of my, you know, dreams fulfilled in this waiting season would make it not as difficult to endure this waiting. Because I know, like, I don't know when this promise of revival is going to break out, when that's going to come to pass. And I remember God just speaking to me. God was speaking to me that he wanted to fill that void in my heart. He didn't want a blessing, a promise to fulfill that void in my heart. Relationship with him is what was supposed to go in that void, that longing, that temptation of discontentment. And when I felt that conviction, that longing for for that dream of having children, like right now, that longing went away. It just like immediately went away, immediately. And I've never had that since then, that like desperation longing. Praise God. So relationship with Jesus, he wants to fill every void, and he wants you to learn how to find peace, joy, and contentment with him alone, with relationship with him alone. But I also want to share though that like blessings that God gives you, that's how he shows his love to you. And it's one of the ways he shows his love to you. And it's heaven coming to earth in your life, because God is the one giving the blessings. It's completely God. It's not natural. It's supernatural. And so when you look around at these blessings, you see God, you see his love, you're reminded of his love, you know? So blessings that God gives, that's part of how God shows his love. And so it is important to recognize the blessings that God's giving you so you can see his love, remember his love, and it's part of the experiencing abundant life, peace and joy. Like, you can, if you are in prison in a dark cell that's smelly and cold, you can have contentment with Jesus. That's what Paul talks about. You can have peace and joy even there. But like to be in the prison, or to be in like outside of nature, or in a beautiful space that is clean and smells good and has a lot of bright light, you know, that is going to be experiencing more of heaven on earth. It is going to be experiencing more of abundant life, you know? So like God doesn't want us, you know, even if someone were to go in prison, God can, maybe they're falsely put there, like God can use that for good, but God doesn't want them to stay there. He wants to break free his people spiritually and physically if they correspond. So I say that to say, like, some of you may be missing out on the abundant life that God's giving you simply because you haven't renewed your mind to see the blessings that are already there, to see and recognize and appreciate the abundant life that God has already given you. Like, God's already given you abundant life in different areas. God's already given you precious blessings that you once longed for, but you're putting no attention there at all. So it's as if they're not even there. And all you're doing is looking for the dreams ahead that haven't come to pass yet. But you're completely missing the dreams that God already gave you. So it's like you're starting at square one. You're starting at zero. You're putting yourself at lack, at the place of lack, where you have like nothing and you're longing for something. But in reality, you already have so much. Like, do you remember certain things in your life? Do you remember when that promise came to pass? Do you remember the joy you experienced? Why should that joy go away, right? So this can be seen like in having children, having marriage and children. Like, you can have so much peace and joy and contentment in Jesus being single, like so much full contentment being single and not having children. But probably those who are married and have children will say, like, you experienced like more abundant life in falling in love and having a spouse and having a child. I've heard all these stories of like when people have children, their heart grows. Like, it's like crazy. Like, they can't explain it. like because they had so much love for God and for their spouse and their family members before. They had so much love, but like their capacity grew, like doubled. Like I've heard those stories, you know? And so like in that case, like the baby became, that blessing became more abundant life, more of heaven coming upon the life of that person, which then leads to more peace and more joy, even more joy. It's a glory to glory, you know, and that could be true. Like for me, I love nature so much. I love the sunshine, especially love LA weather. It's the most perfect weather in the world. And I imagine like heaven to have this weather. But it's sunny most every day, like 95% of the days are sunny, and the temperature is in the 70s. It's so beautiful. And so I love nature, and I also love creation, and I also just really love like the outdoors, fresh air, the sunshine, the wind, you know. And so every day where it's possible, I am getting outside. Where I currently live does not have a patio, I do not have a balcony. I do not have any kind of backyard where I currently live. And so I am going for a hike if I can, or a jog if I don't have enough time outside every single possible day I can. And if I couldn't do that, if I couldn't get outside at all, I would still have peace. I would still have joy. But when I appreciate this blessing that God has given, that I'm able to access, that I'm able to get out there, you know, and move around in, I have more joy. So I just wanted to share with you, like, the blessings that God has given you. These blessings will contribute to more joy in your life. The Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so something I want to share with you is that it is so important that you nurture, cultivate, and maintain joy. It is so important. Let me tell you, like, I just know from experience, like, I've gotten in a slump before where I wasn't experiencing near as much joy as I usually would. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't like crying every day or anything, but I noticed a slump where I wasn't experiencing as much joy. And the root of me not experiencing as much joy in that time was I was in the wilderness, deep in the wilderness. Years had gone by where I expected the promises to come to pass. And I really was expecting them any day now. And then years had passed and it wasn't coming to pass yet. And I took being grateful for granted. I mean, I took counting my blessings for granted. I forgot the powerful, profound principle of practicing gratitude. How powerful it is. How powerful. I forgot. Because remember I said, like, when you're naturally like a joyful person, you don't have to practice gratitude really. Like you're already like seeing the blessings and thanking God and